Okay, here we go. Welcome, Rusty Cooley. Hey, Rusty, what's up?
Hey man, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good.
Can you hear me?
Excited.
Yeah.
Excited
Yeah,
to have
man,
you
this
here.
is gonna be a blast. Thanks for having me on the show. Hell yeah, dude. It's gonna be fun
Yeah. Um,
for sure.
I see that battle axe in front of you. You're really gonna do a number on me today with some insane shredding, right? Because that's what I want to see. I don't want to see no, you know, F bar chords and shit happening today on stream.
Yeah. You know, no, we'll do some shredding for sure, man. Get some notes flying and you know get it rocking and rolling, man. That's what we're here for, right?
Yeah, that's what we're here for. Well, thank you so much for joining me on Twitch. And people have been asking for you. Say, hey, we want to see Rusty. We want to come. We want to see, um, some of your insane shredding. So I'm really happy that you can come join us. We're going to chat about life in the universe and obviously play some guitars. Otherwise, it's going to be a riot if we don't play.
Yeah. That's great, man. Looking forward to it, man. This is gonna be fun
Yeah. So
for sure.
let me do a little intro. I kind of did intro already, but obviously you've been doing this for a long time, and you've been. I remember back in the early 2000s, you have like instructional videos, like early on. Can you tell me a little bit how you kind of started your guitar journey, and how you kind of got to that point at that then?
Um, yeah, it kind of started and I think it was 97. I got my first seven string and I quit. I'd been playing in local bands and I was just kind of fed up with it. And I decided that, I'm going to go back to the woodshed and reinvent my playing and take it to the next level. So I got the seven string and started writing an instrumental album. And along the way, started the internet just started to take off at that time, I think, or maybe a little bit earlier than that, but for guitar players at least. So it was a great vehicle for me to get some recognition and get known outside of Houston. You know what I mean? So I just started. You know, back then there was no social media, so it was all about your website and trading links and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Most people don't even know what the hell I'm talking about, right? But that's the way it was back in the day. Um, so I started just practicing away, man, hours at a time, and started. I discovered a website called Shops from Hell, and that's where I got my start with instructional stuff. It's and they're still up. You can still get my first four instructional products there. It's like Shred Guitar Manifesto, The Art of Picking, Extreme Pentatonics, and Basic Training. And that was kind of my foot in the door, really. And I put those out before my first album was out. So that really kind of helped build a name for me as well as just online and that whole deal. So that's kind of where it started. But went back to the woodshed and just started taking my playing to the next level and just going to the furthest extremes. I was trying to find any guitar player, any of my guitar heroes out there that were accessible. I tried to get in touch with them. Back then, you had to write a letter. You know what I mean? There's no email and stuff. Yeah, I would write letters to any of my favorite guitar players I could actually get a hold of or find an address for, and um, see if they would give me some lessons or something like that. And I would actually get a hold of a few of them. I got some stuff from Derek Taylor. I don't know if you know who that is. He's another Texas guy, super super insane player. He sent me some legato licks, and I got some stuff from Darren Householder. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. He was on Shrapnel also.
Yeah, I
Three
have his
records. Darren's a super,
album Generator
yeah,
Man
super cool
and
guy. Yeah,
first one as
and then
well.
his
Yeah.
self-titled one, and then he's got that third one, Symphonic Aggression,
Yeah.
right, which is pretty cool. I always liked his composition ability because if you've heard all three of those albums, they're uniquely different. You know what I mean? That's pretty cool. So I was doing stuff like that. Wrote to Buckethead, which is pretty cool. He actually replied to me and sent me this letter with his handwriting and stuff, all crazy. It was pretty cool to hear back from him. And during that time, I was really studying Sean Lane, as you mentioned a minute ago. Sean was one of my biggest guitar heroes, and just practicing, man, woodshedding. That was it. I mean, I was sending. My son was born in '95, so when I first started doing all of this, I was trying to take care of him and practice all at the same time and teach. And I was mailing cassettes and CDs to anybody that would listen to me. I started going through like Guitar Player magazine, Guitar World, and looking for phone numbers just to cold call people to try to get them to listen to my stuff. You know what I mean? And it actually worked. People were very receptive. I mean, it was a different time back then. I mean, if you try to call a magazine nowadays, I don't think you're gonna get through to anybody. But I had some good luck with it. Made some good connections with. I don't know if you remember Guitar One magazine.
Yes.
I was in that, and Guitar Player actually did a review of my first instructional shred guitar manifesto, which led to me doing a guest column for them, which turned into my own column in Guitar Player, which was called Metal Guru, which was pretty cool. And just a constant. It's a constant thing. You can't sit around and wait for it to come to you. You've got to take yourself to it. You know what I mean? That's the big thing. Just being good is not good enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you have that kind of attitude, well, then I'm good enough. It should, you know what I mean? Then you got the wrong attitude, because it certainly will pass you by.
Can I get you a bit closer to the mic for now?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So we have to just so
Yep.
I can hear you a little bit better. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, we'll you have to move back when you start shredding those insane
Okay.
arpeggios. I want to see those.
You got it, man. You got it.
Oh yeah, sounds much better. Yeah, I remember I used to hang out on the Dream Theater chat on IRC, and people were talking about it. I remember seeing the videos. It was like a real player, right? It was like really old technology back then, and there was
Oh yeah.
there was that photo of your long hair, your lush. It was kind of a red cover, was it? Kind of something like that. I can't remember. But yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So when you were when you were growing up, were you listening to a lot of the Shrapnel record stuff? Because look, I think me and you, we like played the guitar around the same kind of era and went through that kind of in the scene, right? Whether it was mainly new metal, let's say music that didn't play guitar solos. I mean, what was it like for you to survive, to want to carry on doing what you're doing, the music you love?
Yeah, it was tough. I mean, but you do what you do. You know what I mean? I can't change who I am. You know what I mean? So it was tough, and I kind of boycotted that style of music. I was like, man, if there's no guitar solos, I'm not listening. This is sacrilege. Rock and roll and heavy metal without guitar solos. What is the world coming to? You know what I mean? Now, of course, I've changed my attitude, and there's a lot of great bands from that era that I now completely enjoy and missed out on what was happening. But yeah, it was tough to see that, and it was hard to find inspiration for music because there wasn't a lot of people putting out stuff that was good, and that's kind of when I started getting more into heavier music and more progressive music. Because I was originally, I was just kind of like 80s metal. I had a band called Revolution that was kind of like Racer X meets Skid Row kind of thing. You know what I mean? And then when that whole thing changed and guitar solos went dark, you know what I mean? That's when I started listening to heavier stuff with more aggressive vocals and more progressive stuff, because there was nothing else. Nothing else was doing it for me. So it was tough, but it's like I said, I was on a mission. I wanted to do what my guitar heroes did. I was a huge Randy Rhoads guy in the beginning. And anything Randy did when I was a kid, I had to do too. That's why I started teaching. Randy's taught, so I want to teach. You know what I mean? So it had a big impact on my life, and just got to do it. I always wanted to be on Shrapnel Records. That was like I kind of feel like I'm the bastard son of Shrapnel Records. You know what I mean? But because I listened to all that stuff, Live, Eat, Sleep, and Breathe It, and I had other guitar heroes that obviously weren't on Shrapnel, like Demiola and Holdsworth and Sean Lane and stuff like that. But that was kind of where I saw myself going at the time. Just keep pushing on, man. You just got to do it. You do it because you do it. You know? People ask me all the time. It's like, I think you mentioned to me yesterday, how did you raise kids and and play guitar like that? And it's like, I don't know, man. I just did it. So
just want to send a shout out there. Jared Dines, our friend Jared Dines, is in the chat. Hey Jared, good to see you, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, man. What's up, brother?
The master of shred wars on YouTube is here. Thanks for joining us, dude. Everybody
Mhm.
follow Jared Dines, of course, our friend. So yeah, I was wondering because look, when I was growing up, I started playing the guitar around 92, kind of 93, and I got into Dream Theater, Symphony X, all these things, Satriani, Steve Vai, all the Shrapnel stuff. I got into all the, Vinnie Moore, you name it, all the stuff to Michael Lee
Mhm.
Firkins.
Yep.
I don't know who else.
Oh yeah, dude, love him.
Really the different stuff.
Yeah.
And people were making fun of me a lot, like saying, "Why are you listening to this shit? This is just." Did you get any of that stuff when you were learning to play the guitar?
Um, yeah, I did, but I just didn't care, man. I just blew it off. I remember one time, somebody said to me, "Oh, you're one of those guys that goes whittly, 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 right?" And I said, "No, I'm one of those guys that can actually play my guitar." You know what I mean? So yeah, sure, there was a lot of that going around. Oh, you got a seven string, right? You into corn? No, man. I mean, I like corn. Don't get me wrong, but that's not. People thought because I played seven string guitar, that's what kind of music I was playing. It's like, you
Mhm.
know, cut the first four strings off the guys' guitars and they would be good. I mean, no, I didn't say that, but anyway.
No, no, I
So
always
yeah, there was a fair amount of that bullshit going on. Yeah.
yeah, I thought it's kind of funny because the world is. I think people are more acceptance. They have more acceptance of different style of metal now because of the internet. Maybe, uh,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
not.
Maybe. Yeah. Maybe. I mean, because I don't think everybody goes to the radio anymore for their music. Not that the radio ever played, stuff that I like to listen to anyway. I mean, there's radio stuff that's cool, but if I'm gonna jam to something, it's not gonna be something on the radio.
Hmm.
Um, Not unless it's XM or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
That I guess looking at the players you were into, that did that kind of got you into. I remember you were an Ibanez endorser at some point, right? Did that kind of made you
hmm
gravitate to play an
Yep.
Ibanez
Yep.
because a lot of the shredders were playing it? Because you have a long guitar journey
Well,
when it comes
I
to
wanted,
signature models and everything. Yeah.
yeah. I When I first started playing seven string, that was really the only company that was making seven string. You know what I mean? Matter of fact, when I bought my first Ibanez seven string, they weren't even making them at the time. And what they had, like, the story is that I was told is they had 70 bridges left, so they released 70 of the black and green ones, universes. In the store that I was teaching at, happened to get one, so I bought it, immediately because I had wanted. It was like, great, I want to play seven string now. They don't make them, right? So I just naturally wanted to be there because they were the only ones that made a seven string guitar. So it was really interesting too. I've got two denial letters from them because when I first started writing my instrumental stuff and making demos, I started sending stuff to Ibanez, and they were kind enough to actually respond. Which that's cool. Again, that was back in the day when you had to write a letter. But they were kind enough to respond, and then I got a Jackson endorsement. It was kind of on an accident. Really, I was at the same guitar shop that I was teaching at that I bought the Ibanez. I was walking in the door one day, and the Jackson rep was there, and he was showing off their new seven-string guitar. And one of the employees said, "Hey, Rusty, come over and check this out." And he introduced me. He said, "This is our seven-string guitar teacher," and he asked me to play the guitar. So I sat down and I played it for a few seconds and handed it back to him. And I said, "Cool. So how do I get an endorsement?" He goes, "Well, here, call this guy." So that was it, man. Called that dude and sent him some stuff, and we were off and running, man. Had the first Jackson built. It
Oh
was pretty
yeah, that's
cool.
right. You had the first. I remember that. So the first one, I remember you holding a Jackson.
Yeah,
That's
that's
right.
what's
Yeah.
yeah, that Jackson was awesome, man. It had one of the thinnest necks. It was definitely thinner than the Ibanez necks, which is hard to believe. But that was a custom Jackson. It wasn't one of the production models. It had the cutaway on it and stuff too, which was pretty cool. Not exactly perfect, but it was an incarnation. I don't know if you've seen my orange six string guitar. That's where the whole cutaway originated from. Are you familiar with that guitar that I played?
I'm not. I don't. I probably. I definitely have
Not,
seen it, but
not.
I don't remember.
Let me show you. See. This is the cutaway from hell. So this is a guitar. I've been playing about 10 years. I got about 10 years on yet. I was started in '83,
Okay.
and this is I had this guitar designed right when I graduated high school, and you see the size of that cutaway, man, right?
Oh wow.
So I had been playing on. I had learned, yeah, I had learned how to play on on a Jackson style Randy Rhodes that me and my dad built out of Warmoth parts, right? And I wanted to start playing Strat style guitars, but every time I got on the Strats, like my hand would hit, when I got up here. So this guy that I was that built guitars at a guitar shop I was teaching at, this was a Warmoth body also, and we just started cutting away at it. I'd come out of lessons and he'd go, "Is this enough?" And I'd go, "No, cut some more." And, we'd go through that a few times a day until we got it deep enough. So I mean, even now, this is the most massive cutaway on any guitar that I own, and you can see that I had some kind of innovative ideas for back then. I had this slanted. I mean, it's not quite there all the way, but you can see that I had the heel beveled and the cutaways for depth as far and width as well, so you can get in here and do the big stretches and stuff like that. So this is where it all started right here, man. That's the guitar.
That is cool, and
too, man.
That is awesome. Nice.
Yeah, it's a little beat up, man. The headstock's been broken off at 3 times. First time it broke off was my fault. It was one night I was at rehearsal. It was my birthday, and we were taking a break, and I took it off and I set it on top of my stack, and I said, "All right, nobody run by here and trip on this thing." And a few minutes later, I ran by and tripped on it and knocked it off, and the headstock broke off in 2 places. But because the Floyd Rose, the top, it broke off like at the 4th string, and the headstock was just dangling, right? But I was able to tune it up and play the rest of the night with the headstock hanging off.
That's why you have a double locking bridge in case you break your own guitar. That's really the only reason we got it for, waiting for that day.
Yeah.
No, that is really cool.
That's right, man.
And I think it's important for guitar companies to have players that take the technique to another level, for them to think, well, actually, we might need to improve this colorway and all that, right? It's like if you look back at the old Fender and the Tele, they didn't have players that needed certain ways. So it's like, I think it's important for the players to push the companies to create something and improve the instrument. If you don't use it, it doesn't matter, but it's there. Yeah.
Right, exactly. I'm a big believer in that. And I believe guitar players continue to evolve. So the guitar has to continue to evolve with guitar players. You know what I mean? I always fought with the guitar. It was like I needed to get it out of my way so I can just play. You know what I mean? It was always like, well, the neck's too fat, or the cutaway's not deep enough, or it's not wide enough, and I've got this restriction. Or I don't know if you're like me, but a lot of the guitars when Floyd Rose first came out, the bridge would stick way up out of the body. You know what I mean? And when I would be picking, and then all of a sudden I'd get down to the low strings, right? Is that one sticking up out of the body? Yeah, a little bit. So for me, I have all my guitars with the neck sunk deeper into the neck pocket, right? So that I can put the top of the trim right here flush with the body. That way when I'm picking, it's even. So on guitars like the orange one, I'd be picking on that thing and then my hand would drop off because there was you get to the low strings. And it's, so I'm always trying to make everything just as easy as possible. It's already hard enough to play guitar, right? So why make it more difficult? Let's make it easier. Simplify things. I need one volume knob. I don't need a tone knob because it's always on 10. So that means when I'm on stage running around, I don't accidentally bump it and wonder why my tone sounds like shit,
Yeah.
Just eliminate that, eliminate all room for errors, especially in that kind of situation, So yeah, there's a lot of thought process that goes into designing a guitar, and you don't really realize all the little details of it until you actually have one built, and then you go, oh shit, I should have done that, So it's a constant, constantly refining it until you finally get it right. It's definitely a journey for sure, but it's fun.
When I first saw that guitar,
I can kind of attribute to
keep going. Attribute.
I was gonna say I can attribute to all this guitar stuff that I do back to Randy and Eddie. Those guys. When I first seen Eddie, as we all know, man, Eddie was out there in the garage chopping up his guitars and changing them, and even though Randy wasn't doing it hands on, at least as far as I know, he was having people build these guitars. The V and the Jacksons and things like that. So it just seemed like, this is what my guitar heroes are doing. I got to do something too, man. I've got a picture from high school where I've got an old PV laying in the floor of my bedroom with the neck off that I'd scalloped, and the body was painted and all pinstriped like Eddie, and it had an Ingve sticker on it, and there's sawdust all over the floor. My mom was so mad, because I scalloped the neck in the house, So
You know,
It's
this is
crazy.
actually this is really good that I'm
So
talking to a guitar player that knows how guitar works, because a lot of the players, and you know, they don't really care. They just want a guitar that plays well, right? And knowing the technical stuff and be able to
right,
translate it, it makes it easier for the people to build the thing. You know, what to for them to
right.
understand what. And here's I'm finding it's kind of
Yeah,
bizarre. I don't know how the fuck you find the time to shred like this and know about guitars and have kids. We need to have a conversation outside of
yeah,
Twitch, and you're gonna tell me how to find the time, because
yeah,
you know that is incredible. That is, you know, and you
yeah.
must slow down.
Well,
You
thank
must
you.
slow down time by playing fast, right? So you got more time. I don't know, but
That's it. Yeah, yeah. It's got to be. Yeah, I can't explain it. Yeah, I don't really know how to explain it. It's just like I just, when you want to do something so bad, you figure it out. You know what I mean? And while you're doing it, it doesn't seem like you're figuring it out, because it still seems like chaos, but when you look back, it's like, wow, I got a lot done, which is pretty cool. I feel like I have less time now than my kids are older and grown and out on their own. I struggle more now to find time. But maybe it's just, I don't know, maybe it's my ADD kicking in. Get distracted with a million things and then I don't get anything done at all. It's kind of like practicing. There's so much stuff to practice that if I don't have a game plan when I come in here to practice, I end up getting nothing done because I'm so overwhelmed by everything I should be practicing that I don't get anything done. So it's I have to stay organized or it's chaos. For
so
sure.
well, first time I saw this guitar, I was actually very impressed. I have to say the extended cutaway, it was a bit unfamiliar for me. So I said,
Mhm.
that looks weird, man. That colorway. But I
Yeah.
understand though. I understand why you have it, because of the knuckle for the long stretches, especially when you're doing some sweeping
hmm
where you got to move that knuckle, really roll
Yeah.
your hand in. I know why you have it. But can you tell me,
Yeah. And
you know, are there special features on this guitar that like that you wanted to have on this guitar that you couldn't have before, or stuff like that? Tell me a bit more about it.
abs- absolutely. Yeah, I was, I don't want to say anything disrespectful to anyone, but other companies that I've been with were very reluctant to go all the way with all of my crazy ideas. Ormsby guitars, everything that I've asked them has been a yes. Can we do that? Yes. Can we do this? Yes. So, Perry Ormsby's a fearless guitar builder who's not afraid to go anywhere. And that's what we got, because the reason this guitar has such crazy cutaway on it is because it's got 27 frets. It's got 27 full frets. But the thing is, it's got complete access to all 27 frets. This is the 27th fret. Look, my hand's here, the 27th fret. I can access that. It's neck through, so you get full access. I told Perry when we were working on this guitar, I said, eventually I'd like to make a guitar that I have the exact same access to all the frets. Like if I'm at the highest fret on the guitar, I don't want it to feel any different than if I'm at the fifth fret. And he's like, well, why do you want to wait? Let's do that now. Why put out a guitar and confuse people? And I was like, oh, I was used to being told no, we can't do this, and so he was like, well, let's do it. And I was like, fuck yeah, man, let's do it. So we worked on it. I mean, literally, my thumb right here, that's the 24th fret where my thumb's at. And then on this side, that's the 27th fret where my pinky's at. So that's pretty amazing to have that kind of access, um, you know, on a guitar. It's pretty much one of the final things that I ever hoped to have was a guitar that I could play the entire neck with no restrictions and limitations. You know what I mean? Just as if you're down here, you don't ever run into anything, you don't hit nothing. You can, just yeah, that's pretty sick, man. So that's the one of the most important things, for me is to have that. And um, because I don't, like I said, the guitar's hard enough to play. When you have to work around the limitations of a guitar, that makes it even that much harder, dude. So it's really killer. And the guitar, it has all the features that I would be kind of known for, which is, it's got 27 frets. This is the first guitar I've ever had with 27 frets, so that's new. This guitar has stainless steel frets, and I don't know the actual radius of the fretboard because I forgot it, but it's a really flat fretboard. You know what I mean? And it's the tallest frets you can get. It's almost like playing a scallop neck. And like I was saying a second ago, part of the playability of the instrument is having the tremolo sunk so that the top part right here is level with the body. That way, when you're picking, it's a smooth transition all the way across. Played EMGs for years. I love them. I started playing EMG shortly after I started playing 7-string guitar because I couldn't. They were the only pickup company that I could find that could cut and still have clarity and on the low strings without just being all muddy and whatnot. So um, I'm also a firm believer in if it's not broken, don't fix it. So they've worked for me thus far, and I have no reason to look in, other, any place else. Also, very key to my playing is a low profile style tremolo. I got to have the fine tuners out of the way. You know what I mean? Because on a guitar with the fine tuners that stick up like a regular Floyd, that makes my playing like all weird. Because I pick pretty close to the bridge when I'm picking, because the string tension's tighter there. So it's for more precise picking. If you're up here, you're on a really loose part of the string. So the closer you get to the bridge, the tighter the string is. So it doesn't have all that give and you can play faster. So interestingly enough, that orange guitar I was just showing off a second ago had a regular Floyd Rose on it. And when I got my first 7-string guitar, I was holding my pick like this between my thumb and middle finger, and my index finger just kind of rode there. And when you'd watch me pick, if you see any old videos of me playing that guitar, my elbow would be way out like this. And I didn't realize why I was picking that way at the time. But about 6 months after having my first 7-string with a low profile tremolo, my picking went back to like this and just normal. You know what I mean? Everything just went back. And that's when I went, oh, that's why I picked that way, because it was kind of weird, but it worked. I made it work. I can't even do that now if I try to pick like that anymore. But I did it for years, and it was it worked for then. But yeah, so it's little things like that you don't I hadn't you don't think about until something changes or you have an adjustment made, and and little bitty details like where the volume knob is. That's huge. If you have a guitar built and you don't really think about every little last detail, you'll get it, and it might be over here, or it's over here, or it's too close to the pickup. I like to have mine kind of right there on the line with where the tremolo route is, because I can get my pinky through there and still with the bar, and it works great. I can grab the bar, I can do the pickup switches, because during solos I switch pickups constantly, and it's people always ask me, how do you switch pickups so fast mid solo? And it's like, well, I don't know, it's just right there. You can just mid pick or whatever, you can just grab it and switch it. So that's important. I've had a couple guitars made that it was like, oh wow, that's so in the wrong place, but I didn't tell them where to put it, because I didn't think about it.
Mm-hmm.
I just assumed, and you can't assume anything when you're having a guitar built. I think the jack on this guitar, this is another one of Perry's designs. It's pretty cool. It's the hidden jack. You know what I mean? It's pretty cool. And then threw a kill switch on this one. I've never had a kill switch on it. Well, I haven't had a kill switch on a guitar in years. So I just said, what the hell, let's put one on there and have fun. I want to actually get some single coils made too. I'm a huge single coil fan. I always played hum single because my Yngwie influence. I love that Yngwie neck tone. You know what I mean? That's a killer tone. But so I'm working with EMG at the moment to try to get some kind of 7-string pickup single coil made. That would be pretty sick for sure. It'd be the icing on the cake. But did I mention these are stainless steel frets?
Yes, you didn't mention what scale they are on the low string and the high string. There you go. You can tell. You know what scale they are?
Very good. Yeah. So absolutely. So the high side is 25.5, and I didn't want a big fan because I don't really think you need it for a 7-string guitar. But so we did just a little bit. It's 26.2. It's just small, and because now I don't know how many people know much about fan frets. You generally can't have a tremolo with a fan fret neck. But since this fan is going all the same way, you know what I mean? So the bridge becomes the 0 fret or the straight fret. So that the fan continues at this angle and doesn't ever get straight. Like my 8-string that I have, that's a high A to low B, that's got a fan that goes like this, and then it changes directions, and then you have a bridge that's like this, and then the nut's like this, So on that kind of a fan, you can't really do that with. So I think this is one of the first guitars ever to have a fan fret and a Floyd.
Yes, when I saw that, I thought, wow, finally someone done a multi-scale guitar with a tremolo bar, because I always thought, why are people not doing? I know the limitations and all those things. And And then some of the multi-scale, they have the scale too big on the high E. So
Yeah, for sure.
they don't do 25 and a half,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, I'm stretching, like I'm really
Yeah. Yeah, because
overstretching.
see, I do a lot of stretching, and it's like I'm already stretching at my limit, and you're gonna make the frets that much wider. What am I gonna do now? Because honestly, I do. I'll struggle a little bit with this one when I'm trying to do like, 1 to 7 on this is a little bit harder, and it's barely reachable with my hand. But so I have to work a little bit harder. But so I don't want a big fan. You know what I mean? I want to keep it as close as possible to 25.5 because that's my max on my stretching, especially at the low end of the fretboard. So, yeah, those are all important details. The guitars are I'm a big mahogany guy, so the bodies are mahogany, but it's a 1/4 inch maple cap. It's not like a laminate. It's like 1/4 inch, and then the fretboards are ebony, and then we've got it's a maple neck with, I think that's wenge or wenge, however you say that.
Wenge in the middle, laminated neck.
For support. Yeah, and then we got locking tuners on it, and then the nut is actually handmade by Perry Ormsby. He made the nut himself, so it's a multi-scale nut. It's pretty cool. And that, dude, it's the coolest headstock in the world. I'm sorry.
I like the headstock,
dude,
the bottle opener they call it, right?
Yeah, it's a fish hook.
No, I think that is a really cool guitar. So if I am to buy one, what's the weight? They sell these, right? You can buy them, you can order them, right?
Yeah, they're almost ready. They should be in this month, I believe. So they're doing the first run of them, and things got put off, delayed because of COVID and all that kind of stuff. But so yeah, you can get one pretty soon. You pre-order or just call up Perry. Sure, he'll oblige.
If you guys want one of these insane weapon of destruction, it's the grunge destruction weapon.
Yeah, that's right, man. Yeah,
you can order one.
Sure,
that is insane. That is like,
yeah. Check this one out. This one's pretty sick. This is same thing, but it's got like a Buckeye burl on the front.
Nice.
You can see that, and it's got racing stripe on the back. Man, it's pretty sick. Now the wood on this one is not it's not mahogany. I forgot what they made this one out of because they made this one as a surprise. They brought it to NAMM, and I was like, yeah, dude, I've got to have that, of course. But you can see it's still got you can see on this one, it's got the 1/4 inch cap, even though it's not, it's Buckeye burl on this one.
Mm-hmm.
But it's pretty sick for sure. I like all the green's pretty cool, right?
People say, how much does the guitar cost if they're the order one? Do you remember?
I don't. I think okay, they're from Australia, so whether you buy an Australian one or you buy their import model, an Australian one is going to be obviously more expensive because that would be the equivalent of a USA. I think that one is gonna, if you order that, it's about 34 or something like that. But when you order a custom one, you can specify color, wood combinations. You just can't change, the way it looks or anything like that. That wouldn't be an RC if you did. But you can call them up, tell them you want one with pink polka dots or whatever, and they'll make it for you. And then the import versions, I believe, are gonna they'll be under 2. I'm pretty sure. Maybe
Oh, awesome! There's an import version as well. I didn't know.
Yeah. So they'll be both. So it's not going to be out of everybody's price range, which is very cool, to have that,
I actually I think $3,000 something. That's not expensive for a guitar like that. That is actually a good price.
Right. Yeah. It kind of eliminates some people. Obviously your beginner's not going to be asking mom and dad for that guitar right out of the gate, but a little bit more advanced players, can certainly justify paying that kind of money, $1,200, $1,500, because you're not going to have to replace it. You're not going to outgrow it. And that's a cool thing. You know what I mean? It'll always be there, man.
Yeah,
Sure.
That's outgrowing that. I mean, if you can outgrow this, you can play. I mean, look, I guess players, it's quite interesting. They have obviously so much have changed, right? You can't really outgrow it. You might go into a different direction. And I always find guitars is just like a tool to do a
Mm-hmm.
job, right? You obviously need for
Absolutely.
your techniques, you need specific tool that can
Right.
do what you're playing.
Right.
And some people don't need that tool. Just a Fender Strat, sounds
Yep.
good. That's good enough.
Yeah.
Um,
For sure.
and everyone need a different tool, I think. But hey, if you got, don't buy the most expensive guitar to start with. Maybe
Yeah.
get a
Yeah. Yeah.
beginners first.
Yeah. I kind of think about it like this. I kind of compare like Fender and Gibson to the good old American workhorse, right? And this is more like the Lamborghini or the shuttle. You know what I mean? When you're going to go all out, you want the most high speed performance, guitar built for speed and performance. This is the way to go because you know, the only limitations you have when you play this are going to be the ones you set on yourself.
This is
That's
like a
it. You
race
can never.
car. This is not
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
sports car. It's
Yeah.
a race car. You test it,
Right. And
right?
you can never go, oh, well, the action's not very good or the cutaway is not deep enough or this or that. No, man, it's not the guitar, bro. It's you. So you can't make any excuses anymore. If I get on, because I teach a lot of times when I'm teaching, all my sevens are in half step down with the Floyd, so I can't like change up the tunings and stuff. So a lot of times when I teach on a telly, which I'm a huge telly fan, and you know what I mean. So that's totally a different thing. I get up here and I'm trying to teach certain things. It's like, oh man, I can't. Well, I can't do it on this guitar. Let me get a different one. You know what I mean? So I find myself even making excuses when I go back to that because it does make that much of a difference. If you are going to play that way, you do need to be able to have the access and the setup that way. You know what I mean? It makes all the difference in the world. I mean, it's like putting nitrous on your car. You don't use nitrous to go get your mail at the end of the driveway. You know what I mean? You use it when it's necessary.
So, will I be able to see you play a telly and jam on that later? Do you have one?
Um, I do have one. I don't know if I can actually play it because of my endorsement, but I do have an Ormsby telly. Check this out. I don't know if it's completely set up yet, but I can always bust this one out and see how it plays. But this is an Ormsby telly. It's called a TX model, which is pretty appropriate. You know what I mean? It's kind of their mutated.
This is
Um,
cool. That's like it's like looking a telly in a mirror, bending mirror in a.
right. Yeah. Yeah. No, this one's got a pretty crazy fan on it too. And you can see this one has 27 frets, but it's not 27 full frets. And the cool thing is, it's got a push-pull pot, so I get my single coils, man. Which that's awesome. I love that single coil tone. I'm just a huge fan of that. Now I couldn't go with just a single coil exclusively in the bridge, but a coil tap, yes, and I can definitely live with the single coil in the neck without needing humbucker, ability. Got a cool pick guard, man. Was that
No,
carbon
that's a
fiber?
cool. That's a cool guitar.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, that's it's definitely a telly for the future. Or a Picasso, or what was that guy that had all the melted paintings? Picasso or
Picasso.
Salvador Dali or something like that. Yeah, it looks like it's a little melted. It's been out in the sun too long in Texas.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm. Nice.
sure.
Um. So do you
Yeah, man, I'll plug it in.
do you what kind of students you usually get? All levels? What is it like?
Yeah, actually, I prefer all levels. Years ago, I used to dream of the day when I had all advanced students. And then that day came, and after about 6 months or a year of that, I was like, man, this not as fun as I thought it was going to be. I got to the point where it's like, if I have to teach the modes one more time today, or if I have to teach one more sweep arpeggio, I'm going to vomit. You know what I mean? So, uh, so for me, it's much more stimulating to teach all ages, all styles that I can possibly teach. So I might go from a 7-year-old little kid to some old dude that wants to strum chords around a campfire. For me, that's much more stimulating because I'm constantly thinking differently every hour, every half hour. My mind's going different directions. When you're doing the same thing over and over and over again, it gets old really fast. So, it's fun for me to teach somebody, total beginner, and I think a lot of people have this perception that they have to be at a certain level to take lessons from me, and that's not the truth at all. I personally prefer to teach all ages, all levels, whatever. You know what I mean? I think there's just this preconceived notion that's, they have to be at a certain level. I teach other guitar teachers around here, and when sometimes their students will find out that they take from me, and they're like, oh, you take from Rusty Cooley, and they'll be like, well, yeah, he's down the road, you can take from him too. And they're like, oh no, I can never take from Rusty, I'm not good enough or whatever. And it's like, that's not the case. I got little 7-year-old little kids, man, I'm teaching. So, you know, anybody, all ages, all levels, it's all good, man.
and
I'm here
they
to help you get where you want to go.
and there are different challenges, right? You got challenges for beginners that you need to teach certain way, and advanced. Everyone is not easy either way, right? Top, you know.
Right. Yeah. There's all the challenges, and I think, I think one of the most difficult things to do is when you get a student that's been either taking from a different teacher that doesn't necessarily know what they're doing, or somebody that tries to learn off YouTube. Because when I get somebody that's been learning it from YouTube, or from, just say another teacher that's really not qualified to be teaching, because it seems like they'll let anybody teach guitar, right? It's like, then these guys come in and I have to spend 6 months or a year undoing all the wrong things that they learned. I mean, you have to be you have to be at a certain level to learn from YouTube if you're going to do that, because you have to know enough to know that, no, don't learn from that guy, or that what that guy's doing is wrong. You know what I mean? So you have to know who to look for. And when you're a beginner, or even if you've been playing for a little while, guitar players tend to think if someone's better than them, that what they're doing is correct, which is not always the case. They just might be a couple pages ahead of you. You know what I mean? So then you pick up their bad habits. So it's tricky to do that. And I think, and I guess it could be subjective as well as what's correct and what's not. But I mean, certain things are right and certain things are wrong. Obviously, hand positioning and things like that make a huge difference. If you get a guy that's been playing for 20 years like this, and you want to start teaching him 3-note per string scales, that's going to be a challenge to get him to let go of that thumb and go, okay, well, to stretch, you got to do this. You can't, this doesn't work for everything. You know what I mean? I have to tell him, it's like, okay, for this, you can do this if you're playing open position chords, you're bending or vibratoing. Anything outside of that, you got to be, you're going to need to put that thumb behind the neck and get your fingers wrapped around the neck and arch it, a little bit. So, simple things like that people, it's easily overlooked. If you don't know, you don't know, and I think that's also can be a problem too. Like, I get parents that'll call me and think that they should just by default start their kids on acoustic. I'm like, no, don't start them on acoustic unless they actually want to play acoustic. Because if you don't, then you're going to have a kid that's at home trying to play the songs by bands that they're listening to, and they're not going to be able to reproduce those sounds. And the acoustic guitar is just harder to play at first. I mean, if you want a student to have a better chance of succeeding at guitar, get them an electric guitar. They can make it sound like acoustic, play it clean, or put some distortion on it and crank it up, sound like their favorite bands. And at the same time, you have better lower action. The lighter gauge strings are easier on your hand. And, if you get the guitar set up right, it makes it that much easier too. Because again, you could get a kid that gets a guitar and the strings are like this far off the fretboard and you don't know any better, right? And you just think guitars is that hard to play. It's like, no, you can lower those strings. You know what I mean? Some of the things that people don't know,
Mm-hmm.
and it's, like I said, it's tough if you don't, if you don't know, how do you know, right? So you have to have somebody that's there to guide you until you get enough experience, and you have to know a little bit. It's like using a tuner. Tuner's only good if you know how to use it. I remember when I got a tuner when I was a kid, it was like, what? I just kept turning the knob and it could never find the note, breaking strings and shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So of course, tuners back then were pretty awful, but
Mm-hmm.
technology is definitely on our side for the most part.
Yeah, the guitars have got better. I feel like years, beginners guitars all the way to the more advanced guitars. Technology have helped made things more accurate
Mm-hmm.
and better.
Mm-hmm.
And of course,
For
now that
sure.
you've got a guitar like that, it's years and years of guitar research and
Yeah.
inspiration from different players
For,
creating things. And yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For real. You know what I mean? That, like that orange guitar we were looking at. I mean, this is the evolution from that,
Mm-hmm.
and all the guitars that I've had in between now and then, I mean, the huge setback was when I was playing that guitar and then I got my first 7-string and I had to go back to a normal cutaway. It was like, oh man, this sucks. You know what I mean? So I had to rework getting up here and playing within the limitations of that guitar. It was a bummer, but I wanted to play 7-string and it was like, it was it. When I got my first 7-string, the 6 strings went in the case under the bed and I didn't look back. You know what I mean? And I didn't play a 6-string guitar for years except for an acoustic.
Mm-hmm.
And even when I was teaching, I'm a little bit more relaxed in my older age. You know what I mean? When I was younger, I was like, I play 7-string. I'd be bringing my 8-string to lessons. It's like, dude, just ignore these 2 strings, man. Everything's the same, you know. Everybody tunes down a half step. I made all my students tune down a half step. I played my 7 or 8 string during lessons. It's like, get used to it. This is what I do. You know, nowadays it's like, all right, cool. I'll put on my 6 string and put you know, grab something in standard tuning and, you know, stuff like that.
It's crazy
I'm a little more chilled.
what age does to us, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You totally chill out, you know, for sure.
So I got a story for chat and kind of for you actually, and I want your honest answer on this, okay? Yeah,
Okay.
you can be honest, as honest as you want. So
Okay.
first time I met you, I believe, was in 2006 for probably for like 10 seconds. So I remember you came to our show, which was our last show of the tour, and they told me Rusty Cooley is coming. Oh wow, cool! Rusty Cooley is coming. Blah 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 blah. I remember that, but we couldn't be bothered talking to you because we were too busy getting drunk and trying to get laid. Do you think we're a bunch of assholes then? There you go. You can be honest.
Yeah. I did. I was like, man, because it was like, okay, so because we actually talked. I don't think it was on the phone, but through an email, and we were both with Rocktron, I think, and that's how I got in touch with you. I wanted to come out to the show and hang out, and we emailed back and forth, I think, and it was like, okay, once the show, watch the show, it was cool. And I had my backstage stuff, and I was back there hanging out, and you were in the next room with some chick, and it was just you and her. And you know, I kept looking in, you're like, I'll be out in a minute, man. It's like, okay. So finally I was like, man, screw it. I'm going home, dude. You know?
Yeah.
So,
you know, that
I
day still
figured it was
haunts me.
something.
I still think about that.
Yeah.
Like throughout the years,
Yeah.
like, oh, fuck, I was a fucking asshole. You know, I remember that. I still remember it. I just wanted to clear up you. Sorry about that. You know, I spent all these years shredding. I thought, you know what, fuck, this is the first time I'm going on tour like this. Gotta fucking party. Gotta get the most out of it because I may not ever be able to do it again. So we were like pretty partying and drinking a lot, you know.
Yeah.
Just doing things like, fuck, I used to watch, you know, the movies and all that stuff, you know, like, look at the 80s shredders and going party. So I had to do one round of that for sure.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. You know, I'm sure I would have been doing the same thing, you know, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll hang out later, bro. I guess, you know, got some other shit to take care of first, man.
Yeah. Anyway, just so you let you know, it didn't work. Completely failed for me that night. So didn't get anything either way.
Damn, man. Well, shit, I would have hoped you at least got laid, man. That's cool, man. Yeah, that was at the Meridian. I remember that show, man. It was good, man. You guys were tearing it up.
Yeah.
For sure.
It was fun times, and I said it for years. Not once have I ever said in the press that I'm really good on the guitar. And I always said, look, I'm not that fast, dude. People were doing that shit way before. When I was in my nappies, they were shredding it up. So I'm just a guy that was into all this music that wasn't popular.
Yeah.
You know, that new metal, grunge, and all this stuff. And when we made Dragon Force, we said, you know what? Everyone hates guitar solos. So let's double up. Let's put more than there is possible, you know?
Yeah, that's a great way to think about it, man, for sure. I mean, how did you guys do it? I mean, because obviously, like you were asking me, you know, it was a tough time to be in. Nobody wanted to hear that music. And I think the stuff that I do is nobody knows what to do with me. You know what I mean? You know, because even with my instrumental stuff, it's not one kind of instrumental thing. It's not just neoclassical, or even with like Outworld, it's not just progressive metal. There's elements of other things in there. So it's not easily, you know, pinholed as one thing, or people don't just know what to do with it. How did you guys manage to do it? I mean, did you have good management, just know the right people and get the deal at the right time?
I think it's just luck. You know, we always said we're not that great at anything, except we just want to have fun playing it. That was it. We're not great songwriter. We're not great players. We just want to have fun. So that's why we're jumping around with trampoline and all these stupid things, you know.
Yeah.
It's like we're thinking, okay,
that's awesome.
The mentality was this. When we make an album, we thought we're going to be as perfect as possible, because that's the art of recording, right? You want to be accurate. You want to play well. When it comes to the tour, we said we got to have as much fun as possible. That was like the homework. And now we go out and try to make an exciting show, you know, jumping around, do those guitar poses, you know, shredding, you know, go on your knee or whatever, you know, even though we like missing notes at sometimes, you know, because you know, we fell over, or we got too drunk the day before. But we were young and no one really taught us anything. I was managing the band until 2006, and just like, I don't know, let's try that. Let's put those songs on mp3.com. Maybe people
Yeah,
cares. I
that's
don't know.
awesome.
Make a website, make a
Yeah,
forum.
yeah, that's great, man. That's great. Really is. So cool to hear that, man. Because you're just out there having fun, man, and just let's see what flies. You
Hmm.
know, um, I remember reading an interview with Paul Gilbert when I was a kid, saying that he wanted to play like Ingve and dance around on stage like Angus Young. You know what I mean? You know, that was cool, man. Um, Left a lasting impression for sure.
Hmm. Yeah, and I learned a lot of things along the way about the perfect techniques. How to play perfect techniques. Everything and playing
Hmm.
wrong techniques. So when I play on
Hmm.
stage, it's all about playing the wrong techniques because wrong techniques makes it look fun.
Yeah, for
So,
sure, man. I was watching one of your videos the other day, and I was like, man, how the hell do you play guitar so low? You know what I mean? Your guitar's like way down here in Jimmy Page lane. It's like, man, I could never do that. It'd break my wrist off. Unless there's a monitor close by at all times that I can put my foot on.
yeah,
You know,
you gotta do all kind
I
of
mean, even
twists
now
and
I got my
turn.
foot on a classical. I mean, even now I got my foot on a classical footrest, keeping this guitar up elevated. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
it's crazy.
it's. I think it's the taking risk thing. Is that I know this is more difficult to play, but I gotta learn it because I want to. I saw some of those 80s like Vi and
Hmm.
Satriani. They all have the guitar
Yeah.
low, but they're not doing all these
Hmm.
sweeps, right? So
Right.
it's okay. When you start sweeping, that's
Yeah.
when the low guitars start
Yeah.
having a real problem. I
And
gotta
and yeah.
bend this way.
Yeah, and the bigger stretches too, man. That's what got it really for me. I have to have it up for whenever I'm doing bigger stretches stuff because you can't do it any other way. You'd have to like I'd have to get down on one knee or something to do that part of the solo with those big stretches and stuff. It's just, you know, I don't even know. I mean, you'd have to have like Paul Gilbert fingers or something. Just like you wrap them around the guitar neck, and I'm not that guy, man. So I need the help. Raise it up, man. I'm wearing a bow tie. No, actually, my guitar isn't as high as it used to be when I did all instrumental stuff. Back then, it was like if I wasn't when I had my Conklin 8 string, dude, that guitar body on the Conklin was big this way, right? So it like took up my whole torso, the guitar. So if I had it up high enough and I went like this, I could hit my chin on the upper horn. You know what I mean? So I was like, that's one thing when I went, started playing another brand of guitars that let's make the body a little bit smaller. I'm not a huge guy, you know what I mean? Let's make it a little more compact. I don't need it's like God, this Conklin was a huge guitar. I mean, it played great, sounded great,
Mhm.
for sure, loved it, but not a fan of big giant guitar bodies.
Well, the good
You
news
know,
is it's actually totally like when you were shredding at the beginning, that during that era in the 90s, it's not acceptable to have the guitar high, right? And the 2000s
mm-hmm.
either. Now
Yeah,
it's actually acceptable. You Tosin Abasi, all the gent guys, they have the guitar high
mm-hmm.
because if you
Yeah,
thump, you can't have the guitar low. I've been practicing learning some thumping just for fun,
mm-hmm.
and you have to
Yeah,
have the guitar high to execute the techniques and mute.
right, for
Um,
sure. Because it's a bass guitar thing, and if you watch the guys that play bass that do it well, their basses are way up here, man, for sure.
mhm.
you know um, and that's why I gave up. For me it was always about I gave up on trying to look cool because I wanted to play well. You know what I mean? It's like I just knew there was no other way to play the stuff that I play and recorded any other way. So I was just like, you know what, I give up. I'm just going to raise it up and just suck it up, and hopefully people will overlook it, and if not, well, too bad. You know what I mean? So, that was it. Because I mean, when I play like now in Day of Reckoning, or even when I was doing my old band before Outworld Revolution, I play with my guitar a little bit lower because it's not as challenging as like Outworld material or my instrumental stuff. With those two bands, I definitely had to keep the strap up pretty high because there was no telling what was going on at any minute. The Outworld stuff was super progressive, and it was very difficult music. To the point where sometimes it wasn't fun. I was like, man, okay, here comes this part, the ensemble where everybody in the band's doing these unison lines, including the drummer with us doing rolls, and we're guitar, bass, and keys and drums all at the same time. It's like, it was tough. So when I put Day of Reckoning together, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna have a little bit more fun. Maybe just makes just heavy, cool riffs, shredding. I want to run around and jump around on stage and not have to worry about it too much. I don't want to be stuck to my monitor because with the Outworld stuff, as much as I love that band, and I would still be in that band if things didn't go wrong with it. But um, you know, you have to hear everybody in the band precise. You know, so there's, you know, I had to be by my monitor constantly, had to have a good mix, because if I didn't hear one this or that, then it was like, oh, it's off. You know what I mean? So it was really challenging in that respect. Not a lot of running around acting like a fool. You know what I mean? So I gave myself that freedom with Day of Reckoning. There's a lot of space for running around. And I've got another guitar player in this band, Matt, and he's solid as a rock, man. He's like he graduated from North Texas, big jazz school. So you know, no, I can run around and be goofy and miss a beat or something, and I can always look over and go, oh, okay, well, here's where we are. You know what I mean? So he holds the fort down while I act like a fool. So you know,
Yeah,
that's my rock in that respect, for
you know,
sure.
age slows us down in a certain way. You know, it's like we don't have to
Hmm.
play as technical as. It's like you don't want to do the same thing all the time, right? So you finding
Right.
space and you finding time in the music too. I think it's cool, you know.
Hmm.
And it's like you you regret years later. It's like, I wish I didn't write that part that difficult. It was cool when you're in the studio. You just say, yeah, I want to make
Yeah,
the
yeah,
ultimate
yeah,
guitar.
yeah, yeah,
This
yeah,
is it. This is it. I did it. I did this
yeah,
technique. Do you see that? No one
yeah,
cares.
yeah,
No one
yeah,
cares.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. Or everybody wants to hear that now. It's like, oh man, I haven't played my instrumental record in 20 years, man. You know, I can, some of the stuff I could play if I had to sit down and do it right now. I could fake my way through it. But some of the stuff, dude, man, that shit's hard, dude. I mean, real hard.
So
um, you know,
yeah, I just
yeah,
wonder, you know, I mean, in case people don't know, and they will see it in a bit when we start jamming and playing together, is you have so much, um, you know, it's for you. You've got so much technique. You got so much knowledge of arpeggios, scales, and all that. You know your way around the fretboards like nobody. What do
thank you.
you feel like is something you want to practice and improve on? What's your, because I think it changes as the challenges change as we
Sure,
grow, right?
sure. Yeah, the big thing for me is just to keep evolving and keep growing. If when you stop learning, you stop growing. You know what I mean? That's when you start repeating yourself or start getting bored. And here's an important thing too that I want to throw in when we're talking about this. I learned just as much from my guitar heroes as from for what to do as what not to do too. You know what I mean? Because a lot of my guitar heroes nowadays they're just putting out the same records, and same kind of songs and same format, and it's like I want to hear them do something else. Not a lot of my guitar heroes that are, you know, a few of them aren't with us anymore, unfortunately. But the ones that are just doing different things, and you know they're growing too, but not in a way that I want to hear them grow. Maybe you know what I mean. That's always tricky. But so for me, I want to keep evolving. And what I mean by that is just keep learning and keep expanding my sound. I don't want to continue writing the same songs. I mean, if you go back and look at, and I know this is a long way around the question you asked, but I think it's important to talk about. If you listen to like my instrumental album or listen to any of the Outworld records and listen to Day of Reckoning, it's really still me, obviously. The big difference is I've changed my environment because a lot of my fans have trouble adapting to the different things that I'm doing. My instrumental guys are diehard instrumental. They want to hear me do, where's your new instrumental record coming out, and yada, yada, yada. And then, you know, I get people are still like, when's the next Outworld album coming out? It's like, dude, I haven't been in Outworld in like 10 years or longer. Um, and you know, and the Day of Reckoning fans, the other instrumental fans and the Outworld fans don't really like Day of Reckoning because of the vocals or this or that. It's a hard thing to do, but for me, it's if you strip away the vocalists and the leads, the songwriting's still pretty much the same. It's a little bit more heavy and aggressive now, but I haven't changed that much. So it's not all that different, but it's a progressive. Uh, you know, I try to stay. It's not like I don't ever want to be trendy or follow any mainstream thing because that's just not who I am. But I want to stay current. I want to stay up on what's out there. You know what people are doing because there's a lot of great new stuff out there. There's a lot of great music, and I don't think because I come from a certain generation that I shouldn't be able to learn or be inspired by that and utilize that in my own creativity and whatnot. So never be afraid to learn from other people. I mean, you can learn something from anyone. I mean, seriously, any level. There's something you could probably learn from someone. I mean, anyone. But the things that I want to continue progressing at is, and this is something that's not very widely known. I'm recovering from a hand injury. It's non-guitar related. We're not really sure exactly
Well,
what
you know, when you say
happens.
non-guitar related, we're gonna do
Well,
this straight
but I'm
away.
a right. It's not this hand. It's this hand.
Oh, okay.
Unless I want it to feel like a stranger, Anyway, never mind. So it's my left hand, and I've talked to 3 doctors now. I started acupuncture last week, actually, and I'm going to go this Friday for my second session. The first doctor I saw was a doctor that works on the Houston Symphony Orchestra. My lead singer is a doctor also. He's got a degree in sports medicine and kinesiology, so he knows the doctor for the Houston Symphony Orchestra. And as a favor, she let me come in on her lunch hour and look at my hand, and she did these strength tests, right, where you see how much strength you get pushing out, and how much strength you get pulling in. Well, the strength that I had, it was my ring finger that was bothering me. It just kind of, the best way I can describe it is it just kind of started misfiring. It's not landing right. It's missing the string above or below, or it's just kind of weak. And it's and I fought this for a couple of years. I mean, I taught both Petrucci camps with this injury going on, and I faked it. You know what I mean? Nobody was able to tell that I had something wrong because I can play around it as long as I don't have to play my own songs. You know what I mean? If I got to just improvise, I can improvise and make it look like everything's cool. But so they found out that the first doctor discovered that the muscle on the left side of my ring finger has been greatly depleted. She doesn't know why. She said the easiest thing to do is you can't make it better by playing more. Because I thought, well, I'm just going to practice more. It'll strengthen it up. It has to work. You know what I mean? That's my mentality. She's like, get some rubber bands and practice doing this. It's the ring finger. So, okay, great. I kind of didn't do it really. And I kind of blew it off. And then I was at a friend of mine's Christmas party, and a mutual friend of his is actually a doctor that works on Olympic athletes and musicians as well. And he grabbed my arm and started going like this. I was like, oh, dude, what are you doing? Right. So apparently I had a lot of buildup of toxicity and just, I don't know all the terminologies for it, but there's a bunch of junk in my arm that he did like 3 days of physical therapy on my arm. And he said it needed to release the toxins. And he said what was happening was it was causing the blood to not flow to and from my hand properly. Right. And I'm thinking, great, okay. His solutions was, okay, we'll do this therapy, because he doesn't live in Texas. So he had to fly home. And, he said, you can go out in your backyard, dig up some dirt and put it in a bowl with a little bit of water. And you just practice sticking your hand in and stretching it out, because that's going to be like an exercise thing. And so I never actually did that, but I went on Amazon and bought some of these things, right? You put on your fingers, and it comes with 3, and you can practice doing all this stuff, right? And I did it a couple times, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh, this doesn't seem like it's working. I got to put these things on it. When I'm around the house, not doing guitar and driving around. I lost one somewhere. And so it's not, I have good days and I have bad days. Sometimes I feel like it's getting better. And then sometimes I feel like, oh, this just is awful, man. So I talked to somebody that I just recently met. Her name's Yin Shan. She's a classical pianist. And she said, try acupuncture. She goes, whenever I have problems with my hand, I go see an acupuncturist. She gave me her doctor's name, and I started last Friday. And I'm going again this week and just continue therapy. See, I'm hoping that this is going to work. It seems different, and I kind of like it. She's not telling me to get some rubber bands and put on my fingers and stuff like that. So that's cool. So it was pretty interesting. I don't know if you've ever had that done or not, but it was interesting experience for sure. So I'm hoping that that's going to work, and I'm continuing to just try to practice. That's the big thing for me is I work so much and teach so much that I don't play guitar anymore. You know what I mean? I don't ever pick this up to play or practice. It seems like it's always pick it up to work, or I got to do a guest solo for somebody, or I'm got to record this or that. It's not pick it up for fun to sit down and practice. I don't have a practice schedule anymore because I don't ever get to come in here and play this guitar. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Not for me. You know what I mean? It's like when you're a kid, you play the guitar because that's how you get good. You love to play, and you're playing. In those days, in that time in your life, that's just, you don't have to do anything else. You know what I mean? You're not necessarily in a band, or you're not recording, or you're not doing, you know what I mean? You're not picking it up for work. It's work. I mean, I love my work. Don't get me wrong. I love to teach, and no matter what, if I tour or whatever, I'm still going to teach because I just love to teach. But you gotta have time to play, and I'm trying to free up my my schedule to do that. I have been teaching the last 2 or 3 years. My schedule's been like 14 days on, 1 day off. You know what I mean? It's a grueling schedule. And I teach late. Sometimes I don't get done teaching until midnight. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So, I mean, I don't start till late because I'm a night owl. So I stay up really late. So my earliest lesson is twice a month at 12:45 or something like that. Normally I don't start till 3 in the afternoon, and then I can go late. And plus it's all primarily Skype. So I teach people all over the world in different time zones. So it works out. But, a lot of times by the time I get done in here teaching, it's like, I need to go grab a bite to eat, and I start to unwind, and it's like, oh, now I need to go practice. Well, that doesn't sound fun. What I mean? So, but what I was saying is I've recently changed my schedule. I started a Patreon page, and that's helping because it's giving me some extra income so that I actually have 2 days off a week now. Every Friday and Saturday I'm off. So I'm only teaching Sunday through Thursday. So it's giving me a breather. And I still haven't been able to take full advantage of that yet, but it's because it's fairly new part of my schedule, but it's going to be nice. I can't remember last time I had 2 days off in a row consistently. You know what I mean? Got to pay the bills, right?
Yeah,
So
it's a crazy time, especially now.
yeah.
And definitely I understand. Sometimes, you just don't have time to practice, and it's the same thing here. I especially when we're touring a lot, literally, I
Mhm.
cannot sit there and play. I don't want to play the same songs again when I'm not on stage. But
Right.
you have
Yeah.
to,
People,
because
yeah.
the techniques get worse and worse if you don't readjust. I mean,
Right.
I was talking about I play the songs using bad techniques on stage because it makes it more animated, more fun. Instead of just going like this, I'm going bang,
Yeah.
bang, bang.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Hate
all
it.
this just mess up your actual real perfect technique that you use for recording and how you
Hmm.
should be playing the guitar. So, and
Right.
they get off, more and more off the line the more you play. So you actually have to sit there
Hmm.
and go, okay, I'm going to sit down and play these songs correctly, technically. Or stand up and just play without moving around and walking around
Hmm.
to just recenter the technique. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess with anything, if you're doing something else, you kind of forget about what's the real
Sure.
guitar playing or who you really are, right? Because you're spending all this time
Right.
teaching other people stuff.
Sure. And as you grow, you you know, I'm sure you have the same thing. As we grow, we get new ideas in our playing, and sometimes we kind of forget about old things. So when it's time to go back, it's like, wow, I haven't played that lick in forever. That's really hard. Which like most of the stuff on my instrumental album, dude, I could play at any time of the day, pick it up cold. I never had to warm up. See, that's part of the hand injury thing now that's killing me. I didn't used to ever have to warm up ever. I mean, that's not to say I could pick up my guitar and play The Butcher off my instrumental album without being, completely, but I could pick up my guitar and play. I mean, like most people were warmed up. And now, dude, it's like I have to spend time warming up, and it's like my hands feel stiff. So, like today, I took some ibuprofen to make sure if there's any inflammation that it's helping it go down. And put some this like arthritis cream on my hand and shit. It's like, I mean, the cool thing about this injury, if there is a cool side, is that I don't have any pain at all with my playing. Nothing hurts, and it's not an injury from playing the guitar, so I don't have to worry about re-injuring it from playing. That they think it was from some kind of heavy lifting. So I used to work out a lot. Last couple of summers, I was putting out stone pavers in the backyard, building a pathway, and those things are heavy. I wasn't wearing gloves and stuff like that. I mean, not that gloves were going to save my hand from an injury. If I'm going to drop one of those big things, it's going to mess your hand up anyway. But that's the hardest thing now. It's like I can't just come in here and pick up my guitar and play. Like if I need to do a guest solo for someone, normally I'd be able to walk in here, plug in, and go, just record. But now it's like, oh shit, I got to spend 30 minutes freaking warming up. It's like awful, dude. It
And,
sucks when you're used to being able to pick up your guitar and go, and you can't do that now. It's a real frustrating. That's why I started the acupuncture thing. I was supposed to go do a session a couple of weeks ago for somebody, and it's like, dude, I just can't do it. It's going to take me too long to warm up, and this or that. And I'm going to be in a film, kind of an indie film, and it's on me and a classical pianist, and it's merging the two different styles and cultures. That Yan Shin that I was telling you about, she's a classical pianist, and that's who's going to be in the film with me. And they're going to talk about our lives and all that stuff. But we were supposed to have a rehearsal last week where we were playing some classical stuff together. I was like, dude, I'm not going to be ready. And I told her about my hand injuries. She's like, go see Dr. Zhang. It's like, all right, cool. So started that, but you know, it's pain. But what do you do? Hopefully, it's not just because I'm getting older.
I was gonna say, unfortunately, we
If
might have
that's
to
the case,
face
yeah,
age is
yeah,
actually
yeah,
causing us to not recover as
yeah,
quickly. That's really,
for sure, man, for
we
sure. And
just
I'm
can't
not like,
accept it.
I,
Yeah,
yeah,
when
exactly.
you start looking
Yeah.
at your phone like this, like,
Oh yeah, 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 yeah,
I started doing
yeah.
that recently.
Dude, I'll tell you what's worse is, see, I have to wear contacts, right? But when I can, and without my contacts in, I can see perfect up close. I can go, I can read that fine. But as soon as I put my contacts in, then I got to wear bifocals with my contacts because the contacts correct my vision, which means that I can't see it close anymore. It's like stupid. It's like, God, get it, man. Yeah,
Well,
go to a. It's like you're in a restaurant. You're in a restaurant. It's like, oh, I got to get my phone out to turn the light on because I can't read the menu. It's too dark in here. It's stupid.
I know I went to
Yeah.
see an optician, and they said there's nothing wrong with your eyes. You're just old. Oh,
Yeah.
it's like the
Yeah.
tests are all
Yeah.
perfect. You're just old. It's like, oh
Yeah.
well, okay, I
Yeah.
guess that's the
It's
way
just
it is.
perfect for your age. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah. My
great.
doctor said shit changes when you get older. I said, oh, thanks.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
man,
we
crazy.
I'm glad that you still gonna do some guitar shredding with me, despite
Absolutely, man.
you know, but improvising, right? You don't,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can flow with it.
Yeah.
That's great.
I'll fake it, man. I'll fake it. We'll make it work. I'll have fun. I played over a couple of tracks last night, and
Yeah,
it'll be cool. Like I
yeah.
said, we just have fun. So I apologize in advance for sucking if that happens. So, but whatever.
Yeah, we just gave everybody so much excuse that we don't have time to practice. So,
Yeah.
I have like a 19 months old baby. You can imagine
Oh
this
yeah.
doing that.
Yeah.
I remember the first 6 months while we just had the new album out, it was like impossible. I had to learn the songs
Yeah.
for the tour, and we had the TwitchCon, the big show, to open the album. It's like I don't have time to practice.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
gotta change diapers and stay up
Yeah.
because there's one that refuse to sleep.
Yep. Oh man, I remember those days. That's how my headstock got broken off the second time on that guitar, the orange guitar, with my son. I was leaning against the couch and he came over and grabbed it, knocked it over, and pop, headstock fell off again. It's like, okay, well, we'll just glue it back on for a third time or second time.
Uh,
So yeah.
Before we start
Watch
playing,
out around your guitars. Yeah.
I gotta ask you, how many guitars have you got throughout the years? Do you keep all your guitars, or you give them to friends, or?
I have given some to friends for sure. That was very cool to be able to do that. It was a rewarding feeling. But through the last few years, man, it's been tough. I mean, since COVID started, it's picked up. Business has picked up tremendously for me. So if there's a positive in all this, that would be it. You know what I mean? But I've went through a couple of really rough years, and I had to sell guitars and stuff to pay bills and shit like that. Just to get by. So I would have a lot of guitars, man, if I didn't have to sell any of them. I mean, a lot, dude. It's like this room's wall-to-wall guitars as it is, but I mean, it would probably take up you wouldn't be able to walk in here if I still had all my guitars, man.
Cool.
What I mean? So it's a bummer looking back, and I love my guitars, and they're like my kids in many respects, and I hate to ever have to get rid of any of them. So hopefully I'm out of that. I'm gonna be good financially, going forward, and never have to sell any guitars anymore.
Yeah,
That's the goal.
we want the shop
I
to sell your guitars
Yeah.
instead.
Yeah, right. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And I think there's 4 in the closet. So, it's under 20, but it would be like stupid if I had all my guitars. Oops. Sorry. But yeah. So unfortunately, but hey, I still got a few.
Cool.
Right. And I got a whole new start with Ormsby, man. So there's going to be a whole bunch coming as soon as that first run gets in, man. It's going to be awesome.
Great.
So,
Should we get tuned up and play
yeah,
some
that's probably
guitar?
a good idea.
Yeah, let me
Yeah,
grab
let's
one
try
of
that.
guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to tune up here real quick, make sure this thing's rocking and rolling. If not, well, just hear some out-of-tune guitar. It's a good thing I practiced years ago playing, when I was learning how to improvise, we didn't have YouTube back then. So I had to buy these things called standalone CDs, right?
Yes.
And they were awful, but I bought every single one of them in every style. And I always had my guitar tuned down a half step, and all of the standalone things came in standard. So,
So-
lucky for me, I spent all that time practicing in all the odd keys that nobody else plays in, because that's what we're going to be doing today,
You're gonna,
you know.
yeah.
right?
You're gonna be playing E sharp and D sharps
Yep.
and
Yeah. Yep.
yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So,
Right.
and
I'm
you
gonna.
know, and that's where all that fretboard knowledge, you know, having the fretboard visualization and working on that stuff, that's where it really kind of saves your ass sometimes, you know what I mean? So,
I'm gonna go for quick pee because it's live streaming.
Okay.
It's okay. I'll be right back.
all right, awesome. I'm
I
gonna
don't
warm
want
up
to
a
pee
little bit, if
myself
that's
when
all
you
right.
start doing this insane shredding. Oh shit! What am I gonna do?
We're gonna have fun, man. Let's see here. Let's get that open. Okay. A little delay in there, maybe. Check it out.
What am I doing to myself? Why? I'm gonna try to keep up with you, dude. But look, you guys on Twitch chat, be gentle to me if I can't keep up with this monster there, because this is like, this is like insanity. Okay.